Welcome to the Dogon podcast. We're going to talk presidential debate.
Yes.
That's right.
What are the presidents saying?
Man, we watched it. I don't know if you guys did.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. I will say my first thought and takeaway, and I'm not trying to be one-sided politically here at all, but I was pretty mortified and worried about how we looked to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty rough.
I went from disliking Joe Biden because of, various reasons. I mean, there's like money being channeled to him and his family for like pay to play, and really his son being like, listen, if you don't get this taken care of, my father is going to make sure that you regret it. And, like some really bad stuff that makes me really not like Joe Biden. But I kind of went from being upset with him to feeling bad for the guy.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for him because, he's just an old guy.
Man, old guy doesn't even do it justice.
I mean,
to see some of those statements and
he's falling down.
Like what? I mean, I saw so many, one of the, on CNN, like they had the comment section open, which I thought was atrocious. But I've never seen so many people from around the world sympathize with American politics during a debate.
Yeah.
It was, is this real? This is scary that's your president. Like that kind of stuff really got to me because it was like, whoa, like these people are recognizing that there's a cognitive decline to the point of incapable of holding that position.
Right.
Period. I mean, he forgot what he was saying in the middle of sentences multiple times.
It's true.
I mean, it was scary. And now I've been saying this too. Vivek's been saying this. I believe Tucker Carlson's been saying this as well. And it really, when we did this in June, when they did this debate, this is the earliest debate in the history of any presidential debate or any presidential race ever.
Right.
They've never done it this early. And I know that the reason they're doing it this early is they're going to boot Biden out. They're going to not have him be their nomination. They're not going to give it to Kamala either. Sorry, Kamala. They're gonna sidestep you right away. But they're going to bring in Michelle Obama. They're going to bring in Tulsi Gabbard. No, Tulsi would say no. But, they're going to bring in somebody and they're going to put them up as a puppet candidate and they are going to march them right into the White House. I think they know that their only hope is Michelle Obama to beat Trump. And so I do think there's a possibility of them putting her up on that pedestal. I really do.
That'd be interesting.
It's going to happen. Now we see that Axios and a couple other polls have come out saying 60+% of Democrats want Joe Biden replaced as a nomination before the election. And this, like Vivek says, they set it up perfectly. They put him on a platform that would be more leaning towards him, CNN. They, made it to where there was like no interruptions possible. They really did a lot of easy questions. They were like softball questions.
Yeah.
They made it as easy as possible to make him look good, only so that when he looked bad and incapable, they could call this out and say, we need to make this change, because they realized months ago that Trump's going to beat Biden.
Yeah, I mean, he's just by a cognitive
well, before even people were thinking about that, they just realized it's over. Like Trump has been pushing and he's been campaigning a lot. He's had a lot of attention with the court cases. When they say good, any publicity is good publicity, a lot of times that's true because he's dominated in the media world, where people who were undecided or don't really know, now they're just like Trump. And people who don't like the justice system, which is like a large percentage of Americans who think it's a skewed justice system, are like Trump. It's interesting to see what has happened. But I called this from the beginning. They're going to pull Biden out. They're going to I think it's going to be Michelle and Kamala going in. It's crazy that they wouldn't use RFK. I think they could easily pop RFK into the Democratic Party and have him win, or at least get close, to winning. And I don't mean any disrespect, but and I don't say this, but I know that a lot of people don't like the way that RFK communicates because of what's happened to him medically.
Who is it?
RFK Jr.
I guess I don't know.
Yeah, he's.
I'm not super into politics. I just know a few of I watched the debate.
yeah.
I watched the debates.
Yep, just to see what's up. But yeah, so it's like I think there's a lot of weirdness going on behind the scenes, and there's also a lot of people who are concerned that like Trump is going to pick a neocon or somebody like, for example, like if he worked with any like Chris Christie or any like DeSantis or any of those guys, any of those bought and paid for Republicans, I wouldn't vote for him. I know a lot of people who wouldn't vote for him because it's like, basically, if you don't pick Vivek or Tulsi Gabbard, I'm not voting for you. You know, like just because it's that dangerous, like you can't surround yourself with snakes trying to clean out snakes from the White House. You know what I mean? Like all these people, all these neocon Republicans, you know, I mean, they're just disgusting human beings, you know? I mean, and I don't mean that from like a Republican or Democrat. You know, I really believe that almost every single politician, Republican and Democrat, are disgusting human beings. Just because I've seen their individual personal value skyrocket while they're in office and making insider deals and trading stocks with information that we don't have.
Just trying to personally profit.
Personally enrich themselves. You know, people are like, that doesn't happen. Well, okay, they just go up hundreds of millions of dollars in value. Yeah, while they're in office.
I mean, it's very easy for a president to gain a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, it's interesting. The only president who hasn't gained money and the only president who's lost net worth is Donald Trump. Like,
that's fair enough.
Like, I mean, by a large amount, he's lost a ton of money, a ton of endorsements, a ton of, you know, opportunity because he's been politically attacked. And I just think that's, you know, I think that's interesting that, you know, so many people will, like, even the Bernie Sanders crowd talking about like the rich guys controlling the world. Like, that's another crazy thing. Bernie Sanders should have been the nomination and not Hillary Clinton. He was the winner by far, and they screwed him over to put Hillary Clinton up there. And it's like, I think he probably would have beat Donald Trump. There was so many young people.
There's a good chance. A lot of people liked him.
Yeah, they were like, there was a lot of people out there who really are ignorant and thought that socialism and his plan was like a positive thing, but it would have completely destroyed future of our world and country forever. But like, there was a lot of people. Socialism is gaining a lot of positive ground here in the United States because good times.
I don't believe in anything like that. I think that's a little too far.
Yeah. I'm really big on like small government. I'm more of a, you know, an anarcho-capitalist or an anarcho-libertarian. You know, most people are like, I hate capitalism. It's like, we don't have capitalism right now. We have crony capitalism where we have government in bed with our largest companies that are controlling policy and tax, you know, codes in order to benefit some of the largest and wealthiest companies.
Right.
You know, and I do believe that some big companies and larger companies should get benefits and incentives like that because they employ thousands of people. They create jobs and money. They like create a place for somebody to work and then create money for them to take home and spend in the economy. Like, do I think Elon Musk should get tax breaks? Yes.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, I'm sorry, but are you doing what Elon Musk has done? Have you given that many people a place to work? Have you given that many industries a boost? Like, have you called attention to certain things like Twitter alone? Like, just, I mean, the amount of money he lost in that endeavor just to try to protect free speech was unbelievable to me. I just thought that was awesome, you know? But yeah, so I mean, you know, I'm very, you know, neutral when it comes to politics. I just want individual freedom over government control.
Yeah.
And that's really the only thing that's like my top requirement.
That's why I'm not necessarily into politics too much because I think the whole system is kind of messed up. But.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, are we gonna? Yeah, we'll just use more government to fix the government.
Yeah,
it's like, what the?
It ain't never gonna work.
And people are like, well, you know what? I'm supporting my side, and I'm out there knocking on doors. And in this next election, I'm just gonna vote harder.
It's just not gonna work.
It's like, what? Like, you think that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you're gonna say. Yeah, you're gonna say they can change the vote. They can do whatever they want.
I mean, they can. They can fucking do what they want if they wanted to.
Yeah, you know, like I think Spotify is just now starting to open up. I know YouTube's opening up where you can say like the election was stolen and your shit isn't like taken down anymore, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But you know, it's not. I'm not the kind of person who's like, oh, the election was absolutely stolen.
I'm not saying anything about that. I'm just saying that the possibility is there.
Do I think that fraud happened in this last election? Yes, and I'm sorry.
It's possible.
Not possible, definitely.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm just saying what I think. Yeah.
But even with no idea, I think it's ignorant to say that we don't know if fraud happened in the last. Fraud has happened in every single election.
I can believe that.
Right? Like you're telling me like, and before that, it was normal for everybody to be like, we need to question these election results. It's possible that fraud happened. It's possible that these ballots are not accurate. Like there was all that. Like during the George Bush and Al Gore fight. I mean, they were fighting in court for months about like the fact that this election was fraudulent, and like every Democrat and Republican for the last like 20 years after each election is like, we need to make sure we have safe and secure elections. We need to double check our voting machines. We need to change our precincts. We need to change how this is done. It's like, and then all of a sudden when Trump is like, it's rigged, they're like, no, we've never had any fraud ever.
No,
U.S. elections are the safest.
Are you kidding me?
And it's like, that's where I was like, wait a minute. I'm not saying, yeah, the election was stolen and yeah, this was like some huge conspiracy to overturn our government and put it in the hands of somebody else. But like to say that no fraud happens is just ignorant.
Yeah, I think it definitely happens.
Yeah.
I mean, just like
on a large enough scale to tip the scale, I don't know. I don't know that part
either.
Yeah. But to say not at all, I was a poll watcher. Trust me, it happens.
Yeah, it definitely happens.
I've seen it with my own two eyes. I've seen it in a position where I was supposed to be watching it. And then called the news over and they flip the script to the other side was doing something wrong. That's literally how it happened at Cobo Hall in Detroit. And it was like, okay. And that's like when, that's when my brother was done with politics. I saw it just ended.
Like, all right.
Yep, it was over. But yeah, so to me, it's like we need to be more comfortable having these difficult conversations about, my favorite things to talk about are politics, religion, I jump right into that stuff. Like people are like, yeah, you don't want to talk. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? That's exactly what I want to talk about.
I like to tiptoe around it on a grander scale like this, but
yeah, I like to get right into it, but but it's because like for me, I'm not going to think differently of you if you have an opinion that's different of mine.
Yeah,
but I'm going to want to hear your reasoning.
Yeah, I'm not going to think differently of anybody based on any opinion. But
and some people feel attacked when people ask for explanation on their opinion, and they're like, I don't have to tell you. I don't need to tell you why I feel that way.
Unless your opinion is super hateful,
Yeah. But at the same time, like even if it's super hateful, like tell me why you feel that way.
I still want to know why.
Because you might be right.
Yeah.
What if you're right and I'm walking around like an idiot being wrong, but you get too emotional when I ask you a couple tough questions that you can't give me the answers, so I don't have the information that you have. And so now, I don't know, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right and you're so mad because you're like, how does he not see it? And I'm trying to get that information from you and you won't give it to me because you just think I'm stupid and wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we have to be in a position where we are always open to our minds being changed. If you're presented new factual information that you can validate and verify, you should be able to be open and a big enough person to change your mind.
Otherwise, you're not going to, I don't know, it's just pointless.
I've heard people say, you could never convince me that he was a good person, talking about Orange Man. And I'm like, oof. That's a dangerous place to be in.
Yeah.
Like, I understand if you just don't like the guy,
certain people don't like certain people and they will die on that hill.
Yeah, and see, to me, that is an ignorant hill to die on.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're literally telling people, I'm closing my mind off to new information, and I'm just going off of the information that I have. And that's either you assuming that you have all the information or that you don't care about the information. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. Like, I see things like, for example, when they took Donald Trump off Twitter.
Yeah, I don't think that's right, but
I was like, man, if they did that to Hillary Clinton at that time, I wasn't a big fan of her. I still would have been
I don't think
that's not right, dude. Like, what country are we in?
Anybody off of anything because of what they believe in,
especially a private company.
Yeah,
and that's why Elon Musk bought it. You know that?
I didn't know that.
Elon Musk bought Twitter because at that point in time, he had a few individuals get into Twitter, a few individuals that he knew, and through Project Veritas, a couple other things too, get into Twitter, and they found that there was literally government agents working at Twitter, and higher ups at Twitter were taking input from local news agencies and local government agencies about what to say, what not to say, who to block, who not to block. And it was like, when Elon Musk found that out, he went gangbusters with it, put it out online and said he's buying Twitter, and he, I can't remember what he did, or what he said, but he's like, I'm buying Twitter and free speech is coming back. And he like walked into the main alley with a sink, with like a porcelain sink, and it like the caption was like, let that sink in, and it was like he was making a joke or something. Like, I gotta look that up because I remember being like, that's fucking hilarious. But that's what he did. He bought it for like hundreds of millions of dollars just because that pissed him off, that freedom of speech was, and he doesn't even like Donald Trump. Like, that's the thing, he doesn't like the guy, and he was just like, this is fucked up.
Yeah,
this has to be corrected, and he jumped on it, and so people like that in our society need to be celebrated. People that keep that that freedom of speech open, because a lot of people are like, yeah, but he says mean stuff. Or
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It does not matter what you're saying. I mean, I think everybody has the option to be heard.
Yeah, I mean, and some people, you know, and I'm even crazier, like to the point of like inciting violence or inciting that kind of stuff. I don't think that anybody should be able to have responsibility for other person's actions, even if they're really good at even if I could convince you to go break into somewhere, I shouldn't be in trouble for you breaking in there.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'd have to get back on that one.
Right? I mean, that's a hard one to do, but it's like, why?
Yeah.
Because I convinced them? It's my fault now? Because they took actions after listening to me and being like, oh, that's a good idea?
Well, I think that's a hard question.
That's a hard question.
It's hard. I don't know.
I'm big on that. I think we have to have our own individual responsibility. And as soon as we start saying, well, that guy made me, unless he's got a gun to your head, I don't think anybody can make you do anything.
That's true for my own self, but
yeah,
it's just, I don't know.
I know. It's weird.
I don't know.
It's weird. Maybe one day we'll get into January 6th. We'll talk about all that. I think that was a beautiful day. I think that was phenomenal. I don't care what anybody says. The only thing that was atrociously terrible about that day is that young lady getting shot for no reason.
I wish nobody died.
Yeah. Every other Capitol Police, every other person was like literally letting people in, you know. I mean, go to Tucker Carlson's stuff and look at the footage that he got his hands on. It was wildly contradictory to the footage that was put out about January 6th, you know, where they're saying these people were storming the building, breaking things down and getting in. When they show the Capitol Police opening up doors, walking people down hallways, even some of the main guy with the horns and the big fur thing.
Yeah, I remember that.
They were like walking, like he had a security escort.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he was like fighting and they were like trying to hold him back. They were walking with him. They were talking. They were shooting the shit, like insane.
Yeah. Well, I think at that point, when there's a bunch of motherfuckers in your building, you're like, well, I mean, they ain't leaving until I show them the place. So.
Right. Like, but like they made everybody in America think that it was like this out of control mob that got in there, and all the whole time it was just craziness. And then all of a sudden we get like 50 hours of video footage that are probably the most lame hours you could ever watch of any type of protest ever. Like nothing going on.
Right.
Besides people walking around taking selfies, people taking pictures with guards. Like, yeah. I mean, that part, you know, and then you have like police officers waving people in, like literally like, come on, this way, opening door, like all that stuff really confused me. And I think there's been a lot of debate on both sides about it. A lot of people being like disgusted on both sides. And, you know, people saying, oh, there's good people on both. It's like, there's good people everywhere. But I think the recent Supreme Court ruling is starting to show Americans exactly what happened on January 6th, because they basically made it impossible to go after these guys who went into the Capitol building. The Supreme Court literally made it like impossible to prosecute these people, period. Yeah. Because there was fundamental breakdowns of government continuity efforts and efforts to keep the peace. There was things like Nancy Pelosi denying 10,000 troops, the Washington, D.C. mayor or governor denying 10,000 troops in writing, saying no, you know, like I mean, there was a lot of stuff that I think people need to really open their eyes to and look at things for what they are. You know, and I'll say this, look, if it was Hillary Clinton's people who went in or Joe Biden's people who went into the Capitol building, I would feel the exact same way. Because what I liked about that day, and call me crazy, call me nuts, I think those people who went into that building were more American than the people sitting at home judging them. Those people had a big enough feeling or thought in their heart to put their lives at personal risk and danger, their freedom at personal risk and danger, to make a point.
That's true.
And people are like, oh, they were an angry mob and our elected officials were cowering in their offices in fear. Good.
Yeah, those poor babies.
Good. They should be cowering in fear with the thought that Americans are going to drag them out to the streets if they are going to be criminals, if they're going to be, you know, this ring of pedophiles, if they're going to be this insane group of people. Yeah. Like, they should have that fear.
They should.
Like, I'm not condoning violence. I'm not saying people should be violent towards our politicians, but if our system doesn't work, if we can't even put somebody in jail for whitewashing hard drives and smashing evidence after a congressional subpoena, if we can't even get somebody in trouble for that because our political system is stronger than our judicial system, at what point is it the responsibility of Americans to put fear back in our politicians that we are the ones in charge, not them?
Yeah.
Like, and that's why I'll always say this. I'm proud. I'm proud of January 6th, and I'm proud that people took a great personal risk to exercise their beliefs and to put that fear into our politicians and to remind them that who's in charge. Now, I'm not for anybody destroying private property. Again, I'm a little iffy on destroying government property, because at what point, like when we were fighting the Revolutionary War against Great Britain, we were destroying Great Britain's property by fighting them. And destroying their ships and killing their men. What if we were like, well, we shouldn't do that back then? Like, then we'd still be under British rule. Like, so at some point, you have to be willing to sacrifice who you are to become who you want to be. And it's like, maybe government property will have to get a little damaged in order for them to take it seriously. I don't know. But private property, never okay. That's somebody who's put their work and effort into growing that, never okay. When people say, oh yeah, but that's your tax dollars in government property. Yeah, that's your tax dollars wasted trillions of dollars constantly. So it's like, I don't know, maybe watching it rebuild parts of our Capitol building is a more applicable aspect of our taxes rather than going to Ukraine or all these other countries,
Right.
But yeah, that's just me again. I'm more of an anarcho-capitalist, anarcho-libertarian. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. It's just politics can be touchy and people can get butthurt and upset.
I mean, people can think this or that or, anything. But I meing, I feel like Alex over here is one of the more open-minded people that I know. He will back you no matter what, as long as it's a factual thing you're saying,
Yeah. I mean, I love new information. And if I am proven wrong, that is like invigorating for me because it's like, wow, I just got some new information. I learned something new and now I'm not walking around like an idiot.
Right.
And I love that. And same with Tristan. Like I've presented some thoughts to Tristan where at first he's like, you're fucking crazy. And then he's like, oh, I can see that though. I can see that part. Oh, I can see that. And I think that's beautiful that we can have that open mind. And dude, we've had some discussions where it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if what you're saying is right, but
yeah, but we walk away. Listen. Yeah. We walk away feeling good. It's like, agree with me, disagree with me, but love me, don't hate me.
Right.
I'm going to be the same with you. I'm, cause what I believe is the most American thing is like to have your individual beliefs protected. Even if only one American believes something, I would fight to the death. Even if I believed the complete opposite, as long as that belief doesn't harm anybody else or encroach on anybody else's rights,
doesn't matter.
I would fight to the death to protect that one person's beliefs because it's important that those people are protected. And that's why we have a republic and not a democracy. A republic protects minorities. A democracy, it's majority rule.
Yeah.
So if the majority of people don't want gay marriage, we don't have gay marriage. But in a republic, if one person wants gay marriage, it's good to go.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's just me. And thank you, Tristan. I really do try to stay open-minded. I do get passionate, but it's important to keep that open mind big time.
Oh, yeah. You got to stay on both sides. You can't stay one-sided.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I don't know, any type of absolute or some people who are like, you couldn't convince me otherwise. That's just.
Yeah. I mean. Just think about it a little bit.
Yeah. Don't isolate yourself from possibility of learning something new that shows you what the truth is.
And a lot of it is ego, but if you can dissolve that, it's much better.
It's all ego, baby.
See you later.